Hello. In this video, we will spin up an Amazon Relational Database Service instance, set up the appropriate parameter group to allow super privileges in MySQL, connect the database with MySQL Workbench, test the connection, and run the scripts to create the publicly accessible open source Sakila database. This tutorial assumes that you have an AWS account and that you have a MySQL Workbench installed on your machine. Please see the links in the description below if you need to create an account or download the Workbench. And without further ado, let's get started in the AWS Management Console. Now that we are in the AWS Management Console, we will search for the Amazon Relational Database Service, or Amazon RDS, using the search bar at the top. Amazon RDS allows you to set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the cloud. It provides cost-efficient and resizable capacity while automating administration tasks like hardware provisioning, database setup, patching, and backups. We will then create a parameter group. We will need to create this group that will allow us complete administrative rights so that we can install the Sakila database and all of its components. To do this, we will select parameter groups, select MySQL 8.0 from the parameter group family, name the group, enter a description, and then select Create. Once the group is created, select the group and search for the log bin trust function creators parameter function. We will then set this function to 1 or yes and apply changes. Next, we will spin up our database. From the RDS menu, we will select Create Database. We will then do a standard create for a MySQL engine. You'll want to select your version of MySQL. We will use a free tier template as we are just setting up our database to practice writing queries. Next, we will create our settings. You will want to create a unique DB instance identifier, master username, and master password. Make sure that you follow the naming conventions. For the username, the first character must be a letter and must be between 1 and 16 alphanumeric characters. And for the password, you must use 8 printable ASCII characters, not including slashes, single or double quotes, or the ampersand sign. You will want to make a note of the username and password that you create, as you will need this information when you connect via MySQL Workbench. You'll accept defaults until you get to the connectivity window, where you will select yes for public access. The default is no, but by selecting yes, you will allow public IP addresses to connect to the database and compute resources. The next setting that you want to set up is under Additional Configuration. Here, we want to update the DB parameter group and select the parameter group that we created in the previous step. This will allow you to install the database without experiencing any issues. Once you are happy with all of your settings, select Create Database. You may want to pause here, as it will take about 10 to 15 minutes for your database to be provisioned. You can monitor the status of the database creation, and we'll see that it changes between creating, configuring, and available. Once the status turns green and reads available, we are good to go on to one additional step that allows any IP address to access our database. We will do this under the connectivity and security settings, and under security, we will click the default VPC security groups link. We will then want to create inbound and outbound rules so we allow any IP address to connect. For type, we will select MySQL Aurora. For destination, select all IP addresses with the many 0 IP address option. Once this is done, we are ready to connect to the database from our MySQL Workbench. To do this, you will want to open your MySQL Workbench, press the plus sign next to MySQL Connections header. You can name your connection whatever name you like. I call mine RDS DB in this example, and keep the default standard TCP IP connection method. The host name will be the endpoint from the Amazon RDS connectivity and security screen. Just copy and paste the endpoint as the host name and validate that the port is 3306. Then, enter your username and password that were set up when you provisioned your RDS service, and then test the connection. Success! So now we have provisioned our database instance in Amazon RDS and successfully made our connection using MySQL Workbench. The first thing that we want to do is to import the Sakila database tables and data to our database instance. We will open our connection in MySQL Workbench by clicking on it. We will also navigate to the Sakila database download site using our web browser. Download the database file, unzip it, and load the scripts into your MySQL window. An easy way to accomplish this is to drag and drop the scripts from where they're stored to the query window in MySQL Workbench. You will then run the Sakila scripts, Sakila schema first, and then Sakila data second, by clicking the lightning bolt at the top of the query window. After that, you should be good to go. You can create a query to make sure that the data presents as expected. In this example, we run select star from actor, and we see some data populated in the result grid below. We will be using this data in future videos to do some SQL querying tutorials, so hit the subscribe button to be alerted when those are released. Thanks for listening.